My beloved child. Listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not a story, not a rumor, and not something meant to entertain you for a moment and then fade away. This is a truth that was hidden in silence for years, wrapped inside sacrifice, patience, and a father's unspoken promise. Long before you understood the weight of your own name, long before you knew how destiny quietly moves pieces on a board you cannot see, your father made a decision that changed your future. He did not announce it. He did not celebrate it. He did not tell relatives, neighbors, or even those closest to him. One ordinary day, when the world looked normal and nothing dramatic seemed to be happening, your father bought a piece of land in your name. Not for pride. Not for status. But for protection. For a future he feared might not be easy for you. He imagined a day when you might stand alone, confused, doubted, or cornered by circumstances, and he wanted something solid to exist for you when people failed you. That land was not just soil and boundaries. It was his silent backup plan. A shield. A promise that no matter what happened to him, you would have something that belonged to you and only you. But here is where the story begins to twist in a way no one expects. Because when something valuable exists quietly, it attracts eyes that smile on the outside and calculate on the inside. You were never supposed to know about this yet. That was the plan. Your father believed that some truths should arrive only when the mind is strong enough to carry them. He trusted time more than words. He trusted that one day, when life tested you hard enough, this hidden foundation would reveal itself naturally. What he did not account for was human nature. Because while he was thinking about your safety, someone else in the family was watching his silence. A relative. Someone who shared meals with you. Someone who laughed in the same rooms. Someone who knew when to appear caring and when to stay quiet. This person noticed the paperwork days. Noticed the sudden visits. Noticed the way your father became unusually careful with documents. At first, it looked like curiosity. Then it became interest. Then it slowly transformed into intention. The kind of intention that does not rush. The kind that waits for the right moment. While you were living your life, growing, struggling, learning, this relative was building a mental map. A map of what belonged to whom, what was known, and more importantly, what was not known. And when something is not known by its true owner, it becomes vulnerable in ways you cannot imagine. There is a reason your father never spoke openly about this land. He sensed something. Fathers often do. Not with logic, but with instinct. He noticed small changes. Conversations that paused when he entered the room. Questions that sounded innocent but were asked too precisely. Compliments that felt slightly forced. He began keeping documents separate. He stopped discussing finances casually. He made sure your name was written clearly, legally, permanently. Still, silence can only protect something to a limit. Because silence does not erase greed. It only delays it. This relative started telling themselves a story. A story where they were more deserving. A story where you were too young, too unaware, too distant to care. A story where the land was being wasted in the wrong name. These stories grew stronger every year, fed by entitlement and justified by self-made logic. And the most dangerous part is this. They did not see themselves as wrong. They saw themselves as smart, as practical, as someone fixing an imbalance. While your father was protecting your future quietly, this person was preparing to rewrite it quietly. What makes this moment heavy is not the land itself. It is the timing. Because the truth is moving closer to you now for a reason. Something is shifting. Conversations are changing tone. Names are being mentioned again. Old files are being searched. Memories are being selectively recalled. This is not accidental. This is preparation. The relative believes that enough time has passed. That you are still unaware. That your father's silence has worked in their favor, not yours. They think the window is opening. And once a window opens, someone who has been waiting patiently does not hesitate. They step forward confidently, armed with partial truths, emotional manipulation, and the advantage of appearing helpful. This is how such things usually unfold. Not with force. Not with drama. But with calm voices and reasonable suggestions. Suggestions that slowly push ownership away from where it belongs. Suggestions that sound like solutions but end up becoming losses. And if you are not alert at the right moment, you may not even realize what slipped away until it is too late. Understand this clearly. You are not being told this to create fear. You are being told this to create awareness. Because awareness changes outcomes. The reason this message has reached you now is because you are closer than ever to a crossroads. A point where knowing one truth can alter the entire direction of your life. Your father's action was not random. And this relative's interest is not fading. Two forces are moving toward each other. One born from love. One born from desire. And you are standing exactly in between them, whether you realize it or not. What happens next depends on what you choose to notice, what you choose to question, and what you choose not to ignore. This is only the beginning. Because the land is just the surface. What lies beneath it is far more revealing, far more emotional, and far more shocking than you expect. What you do not see yet is the quiet urgency building around you. While your days move forward like any other, ordinary and familiar, a parallel conversation is unfolding behind closed doors. Names are being repeated. Old events are being reshaped. Stories are being adjusted just enough to sound believable. That relative has begun planting ideas, not directly to you, but around you. To elders. To distant connections. To people whose opinions travel faster than truth. They speak softly, carefully, as if they are protecting something fragile. They mention responsibility. They mention family unity. They mention how complicated things can become when assets stay unused. Every sentence is polished. Every concern sounds reasonable. And that is what makes it dangerous. Because manipulation rarely arrives screaming. It arrives wearing logic. The intention is simple. To make it feel normal when the moment comes. To make it feel like a natural decision instead of a calculated move. And by the time you sense something is wrong, the narrative may already be set. There is something deeply emotional about the way your father handled this. He never believed in confrontation. He believed in preparation. He believed that the strongest protection is the one that does not announce itself. He trusted that his actions would speak when he no longer needed to. But what no one talks about is how much strength it takes to stay silent while watching others circle something you built with love. He saw the signs. He noticed the curiosity turn into confidence. Yet he chose restraint, hoping decency would prevail. Hoping blood relations would respect boundaries that were never spoken out loud. That hope was his only mistake. Because not everyone values intention. Some only value opportunity. And opportunity grows when silence stretches too long. The land remained quiet. The papers remained tucked away. And that quiet slowly began to look like absence to someone who was waiting. You might wonder why this matters now. Why not later? Why not when everything is clear? The answer is simple and unsettling. Because moves are being prepared. The relative is no longer observing. They are initiating. Small steps at first. A casual mention of managing things for you. A suggestion to help with documentation. A reminder of how busy you must be with your own life. These offers will feel supportive. Almost kind. They will frame it as relief. As guidance. As family stepping in to help. But help that comes with conditions is not help. It is control disguised as care. And once control is established, reversal becomes difficult. This is how ownership drifts without noise. This is how futures are redirected without resistance. Not through force, but through trust placed in the wrong hands at the wrong time. There is also something else you must understand. This is not just about property. This is about legacy. Your father's decision carried emotional weight. That land represented his belief in you. His confidence that you would one day need something stable in an unstable world. If that is taken away or diluted, it is not just an asset that disappears. It is a promise being broken. And people who attempt such things often underestimate one factor. The moment when the person they thought was unaware becomes aware. Because awareness changes posture. It sharpens perception. It brings clarity. The relative does not expect resistance. They expect compliance or confusion. They expect you to rely on their guidance. That expectation is their blind spot. And blind spots are where plans collapse when exposed to light. This is why this message feels heavy. Because timing matters. You are standing closer to a moment of choice than you realize. A moment where listening carefully will matter more than speaking quickly. Where observing actions will matter more than trusting words. The story is not finished. In fact, it is accelerating. What happens next will reveal intentions that have been hidden for years. Documents will surface. Conversations will shift. And emotions will be tested. Remember this. What was built for you quietly does not vanish unless you allow silence to continue working against you. The next phase will demand awareness, calm, and precision. Because once the truth fully steps into the open, there will be no space left for pretending. There is a moment in every hidden story when patience turns into pressure. That moment has arrived. The relative you once saw as harmless has begun feeling confident, not because they are right, but because they believe time is on their side. They assume that silence equals surrender. They assume that what is not questioned is forgotten. You may sense a subtle change now. A new tone when your name is mentioned. A sudden interest in your plans. An unusual concern about what is practical for you and what is not. These are not coincidences. These are signals. Signals that someone believes the ground is ready to shift. They are preparing to step forward with solutions already decided, outcomes already imagined, and roles already assigned to you without your consent. And the most unsettling part is this. They believe you will not resist, because they believe you do not fully know. What they never understood about your father is that he planned beyond his own presence. He did not just secure land. He secured clarity. He ensured that what belonged to you was recorded, traceable, and undeniable when the time came. He trusted that truth does not need to rush, because when it arrives complete. This is why certain documents were never shared openly. This is why names were written carefully. This is why nothing was left to verbal promises. Your father anticipated confusion, not because he doubted you, but because he understood people. He understood how easily narratives can be twisted when facts are hidden. And he prepared for that exact moment. The moment when someone would try to step into a space that was never meant for them. Now the relative feels bold enough to test boundaries. They may speak about unity, but their actions reveal urgency. They may say they are acting in your interest, but they never asked what you wanted. They may claim responsibility, but they are driven by entitlement. Watch carefully how they frame things. They will minimize the importance of the land. They will exaggerate the difficulty of maintaining it. They will suggest alternatives that benefit them while appearing to benefit you. This is a psychological play, not a legal one yet. Because once you agree emotionally, legality becomes a formality. This is why awareness must come before action. Because the first agreement is never written. It is spoken. And once spoken, it becomes leverage. There is also a deeper reason this situation feels intense. Because it touches something personal inside you. It challenges your sense of trust. It forces you to look at familiar faces with unfamiliar eyes. That discomfort is not weakness. It is growth. Many people lose what belongs to them simply because they do not want to believe that someone close could want it. They confuse proximity with loyalty. They confuse blood with intention. Your father never made that mistake. He loved, but he verified. He trusted, but he documented. And now that wisdom is reaching you, not as a lesson, but as a responsibility. What you do with this awareness will define whether his preparation fulfills its purpose. This is the phase where silence must change its role. Earlier, silence was protection. Now, silence can become risk. You are not required to confront anyone yet. You are required to observe clearly. To remember details. To notice who speaks in your absence. To notice who avoids direct answers. The truth is aligning itself slowly, and when it becomes visible, it will demand a response. The story is approaching a turning point. One where intentions will no longer hide behind concern. And when that moment arrives, the balance of power will shift toward the one who is informed, steady, and prepared. There comes a stage when hidden intentions begin to leak through behavior. You may already feel it. The sudden impatience. The subtle irritation when you ask simple questions. The forced calm when topics shift toward documents, ownership, or long-term decisions. This is not random. This is pressure revealing itself. The relative is realizing that control cannot be taken unless access is granted. And access depends on your uncertainty. That is why they will attempt to confuse timelines, blur memories, and speak with confidence about things they never built. They may say they were always involved. They may suggest your father trusted them more than others. They may even imply that he left things incomplete. Listen closely. People who truly protect something never rush you into decisions. Only those who fear exposure rush outcomes. Their urgency is not for your benefit. It is for their comfort. What strengthens you now is something invisible but powerful. Context. When you understand why something was done, manipulation loses its grip. Your father did not buy that land impulsively. He bought it during a moment of foresight, not abundance. He sacrificed comfort to secure certainty. That matters. Because when someone tries to redefine value, context restores truth. If they call the land insignificant, remember the effort it took to obtain it. If they call it complicated, remember the simplicity of intention behind it. If they call it a burden, remember it was created as a gift. These contrasts expose false narratives quickly. And false narratives collapse when faced with consistent truth. This is why the story feels tense now. Because truth and strategy are moving closer to collision. There is another layer unfolding quietly. Others are beginning to notice. Family dynamics are shifting. Conversations that once stayed neutral are becoming cautious. People are choosing words carefully. Some are observing without speaking. Some are waiting to see who blinks first. This is how silent conflicts grow. Not through arguments, but through alignment. Who stands where? Who listens to whom? Who avoids eye contact when your name is mentioned? These signals matter. They reveal alliances and intentions more honestly than words ever could. The relative believes they are controlling the narrative, but narratives fracture when too many witnesses sense imbalance. Control weakens when attention spreads. And attention is spreading now. You may feel an internal conflict rising. A desire to maintain peace versus the need to protect what is yours. This tension is natural. It means you care. But remember this. Peace built on loss is not peace. It is postponement of regret. Your father did not prepare a foundation for you to surrender it quietly. He prepared it so you would never have to beg, depend, or compromise your future under emotional pressure. Standing firm does not require aggression. It requires clarity. Clarity in what you acknowledge. Clarity in what you delay. Clarity in what you refuse to decide hastily. Every time you choose patience over panic, you regain ground that manipulation tries to take. The next phase will not announce itself loudly. It will arrive disguised as a proposal. A meeting. A suggestion framed as final resolution. This is where many stories are lost. Not because people agree fully, but because they agree partially. A signature postponed. A permission granted. An assumption accepted. Be aware. Nothing that belongs to you requires urgency to be transferred. Nothing built for your security requires you to feel rushed or indebted. As this chapter unfolds, remember this truth. What was secured with intention can only be taken through confusion. And confusion dissolves the moment you choose to stay fully aware. There is a quiet moment before every revelation, a pause where the air feels heavier than usual, and you sense that something long hidden is about to surface. You are standing in that moment now. The relative knows it too. That is why their behavior feels slightly unbalanced, as if they are trying to hurry fate before it corrects them. They may attempt one final approach, softer than before, wrapped in reassurance and familiarity. They may speak about keeping things simple, about avoiding future conflicts, about doing what is best for everyone. But notice this carefully. When someone truly wants what is best for everyone, they do not exclude the most important voice in the room. Yours. The absence of your full understanding is the space they are trying to use. And that space is closing faster than they expect. Something powerful happens when truth reaches the person it belongs to. The weight shifts instantly. Suddenly, explanations feel unnecessary. Confidence replaces confusion. You begin to see patterns that once felt random. The delayed conversations. The selective memory. The emotional framing. None of it feels accidental anymore. This is not anger. This is clarity. And clarity has a way of unsettling those who relied on uncertainty. The relative will sense this change in you. They may not know why yet, but they will feel it. Your questions will sound sharper. Your pauses will feel intentional. Your calm will feel unsettling. Because calm rooted in awareness cannot be steered easily. At the heart of this story is not conflict, but choice. A choice between remaining silent out of comfort, or becoming aware out of respect for what was built for you. Your father did not secure your future so that you would doubt your right to it. He secured it so that one day, when tested, you would stand grounded. Not loud. Not defensive. Just unmovable. People often mistake strength for noise. Real strength is quiet and steady. It does not explain itself repeatedly. It does not rush. It simply knows. And when you know, manipulation loses oxygen. It cannot breathe in clarity. What happens next will redefine relationships. Not because you change, but because truth rearranges dynamics naturally. Some people will step back. Some will reveal disappointment disguised as concern. Some will suddenly remember details they once ignored.